Today I'm talking with Olympian Colleen Quigley, who has started her own running team. It's called Meridia, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen before in track and field. It's a fascinating concept where each athlete gets to maintain their own brand sponsorship, and yet they kind of pool all of the money and the resources that they're going to develop in this group. It's a really forward-thinking idea. It's extremely ambitious. It's had Colleen have to figure out how to become an entrepreneur, to spin up a startup essentially. And she's had to learn everything from creating a 5-year business plan to Photoshop. All right, here's my conversation with Colleen. All right, Colleen Quigley. First things first, let's talk about this bold new concept that you've announced in the last couple of weeks here. Talk about this new team that you're building and give us the origin story of how it came to be.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, how much time do we have? It's a kind of a long story in terms of like how we even got to, June 4th when we were able to make an announcement and have a press release. And, we have a website and an Instagram right now. We're launching a YouTube later this summer, and then we'll actually be on a podcast this fall. So we're expanding, but we have officially begun in a public way. But the process of getting even to that point has taken, like 9 months maybe of like focused effort work to actually do it. But it's really been like in my brain for like 4 years. So it's been something that, yeah, I've been really I felt sounds cheesy, but like I've felt called to do for a long time. Really, as soon as I left Barman Track Club and signed a contract with the Lululemon and moved to LA and started training by myself for the first time ever in my running career, ever. Even high school, college, like I've never really trained alone before, and I started doing that and realized uh that ain't it. I was also still dealing with a lot of physical pain issues, injury issues, whatever you want to call it. So that's also not fun. But yeah, I just had in my head like I want to be able to choose my coach. I want to be able to have a really amazing coach who really cares about me, and I want to be able to work with whatever shoe and apparel company I want to, which I still want to work with Lululemon, and we are still working together. But I also want to be able to like have a team and have a community and have something that feels, bigger than me and very purpose driven and all that kind of stuff. And so I was just got to this point where I was like, where can I find that? And I really looked around everywhere, searching high and low, and I couldn't find it. I didn't feel like it existed. And so I just, yeah, it was like, if not now, then when? And if not, me, then who? Like, let's do it. I felt like the timing was good. And I actually felt like I experienced enough around the last 10 years of my professional career. I just celebrated 10 years of being a pro. I'm 32. And so I have a lot of experience and a lot of good relationships in the sport and outside of the sport. I have an amazing PR company and now an amazing coach in Julie Benson and just like a lot of connections that I've made over the years. And I think now is the time. And I think, I can at least give this thing a good college effort, a good try. So that's where we're at. And we're finally out in the world. The team name is Meridia. I can tell you about how we came up with the name and how we formed a brand around the name and how we picked athletes, and like there's so much to go into. So really it's up to you on like where you want to explore this. But there's a financial model that's different from what else is out there, even like a structure of how we think about what is a team for Team Meridia, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, where should we start?
Let's dig into it. Let's start with the name Meridia. Yeah, where'd you come up with the name?
Yeah, so the naming process was actually really hard. I thought, naively, I thought that in discussions with like our leadership team starting in the fall that we would, just kind of something would just pop out at us and we'd be like, that's it. That's our name. And then we'd be like, yay. And that did not happen. And talking to people afterwards, apparently that is not usually how it happens. And so we ended up hiring a creative agency. They came up with a bunch of names for us. We hated all of them. So then we moved on to a different creative person who came up with more ideas. We didn't really like most of those either. So then we went through like 3 or 4 rounds with that person. And then we ended up landing on this word of Meridia. And what's interesting, what I learned in that process is that now I've heard a lot more people say this, and I'm like, oh, maybe like I should have known this. But what I learned is that we actually were looking for a word that doesn't exist,
Hmm.
something that people weren't like, oh, momentum track club. You know, that was like something that was thrown out, like something horrible that was thrown out. And we're like, that just, ugh. Like, we didn't want to be a track club. That just didn't feel right. We're like, that feels like the past. It feels very dated to us. And it felt like we just wanted something new and fresh, something that felt more feminine. We have a female leadership team, so, and all female athletes to start. So we just felt like we wanted something a little more feminine, more fresh, more young. So we wanted a word that didn't wasn't a real word or didn't automatically make you think, oh, I know what this team is about or what it is. We wanted something that made people go, what is that? Or what does that mean? Or, what's that about? And ask questions and kind of dig in. And then when you find out what it means, you're kind of like, oh, cool. Like you're on the in, you're like, the secret or whatever. You're like part of the club. So Meridia, I'll let you in on the secret.
Please do.
Meridia, Meridia comes from the word meridian, which has a definition of a high point or a peak or an apex or the top of something. So we dropped the N off meridian to form a word that is made up that sounds more feminine. Meridia, like words in love languages, oftentimes end in A. And so it's
Hmm.
Meridia. It sounds more feminine. And then it also sounds like it could be the plural form of meridian. So if an athlete has multiple high points or peaks in her career, which we hope that she does, she might have Meridia, which again is not a real word, but something that, yeah, we felt like we could give some meaning to. So, and then just personally, for me, this feels like, I'm in a kind of a interesting part of my career where I feel that my personal high point peak may have passed, but this is like
Okay.
could be a different high point or peak for me personally that is still very meaningful and something that I can like it's my own like personal mountain that I'm climbing, but it might not end in me going to the Olympics. Like that might not be the peak here. It could be something different. So just like on a personal note, I gave it my own personal meaning as well.
Yeah, I was talking with the marathoner Clayton Young in Boston. He had a great Boston. He's doing really well for himself, but he had just recently fired his agent, his longtime agent, and he's still with ASICS, but he basically took his career into his own hands,
Yeah.
and he is effectively now his own executive producer of his docuseries that he's got going on YouTube. So he's turned himself,
Incredible.
which is amazing, exactly. And he's found a great partner and a producing partner to do all the video work for him with him as a partner. And we had a long chat about this transition that he's seeing. And obviously, the whole influencer space has been around a long time now. I mean, you've got a great reach, right? Like, you know the game. And a lot has changed in the 10 years that you've been a professional athlete. This to me feels like something different, though. It feels like an evolution beyond wearing two hats of being an influencer and being a pro athlete at the same time. It's like you're turning into it, like Clayton Young, you're sort of turning into a bit of a business person now here as well.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about taking on the responsibilities of being a business person, because this sounds like it's like you're running a company as well. Like it's a team, it's a company, it's a collaboration with teammates and with a coach, with your brand, with other brands, because your teammates are partnered with other brands as well. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's been harder than I thought it would be, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's been challenging in the best way. I think this was exactly what I needed and when I needed it. I think, I'm a big believer in like timing. I'm not a religious person, but I just believe in like the timing of the universe and, everything happens for a reason at a certain time. And sometimes that's hard because, people will opt out or things don't work out when you feel like they should, and you have to kind of accept that like okay, the timing of the universe is always right. And for whatever reason, this is what needs to happen. And so I've had those moments as well. But I just think, I don't know, the challenge has come to me, I think, at the right time. And really how I think about the team, if I'm really being honest, is I kind of just see it as it's a startup for sure, but I kind of see it as a media company, as
Okay.
much as it is a team. And that's interesting to me because I think the way that a lot of teams historically have been set up are very like they all kind of follow the same playbook of like a shoe company owns the team, they hire the coach, they have contracts with all the individual athletes, and they drive the narrative. Mostly, they hire even the hire now. Most of these teams have hired like a content person, but they're kind of in charge of the narrative. Whereas I'm really inspired by someone like if you know, the company Uninterrupted is a media company that's founded by LeBron James, and he kind of
Yep.
had this whole thing of like, the media is driving the narrative around the athletes, and the athletes want to be able to tell their own stories. The athletes want to have a voice and be able to tell the stories that they want to tell in the way that they want to tell it. And that's more kind of where I see Meridia being, that's where we kind of, the lane that we're kind of playing in is we actually don't require all the athletes to have the same coach. So 5 of our 6 athletes work with my coach, who's Julie Benson. But one of the athletes works with a coach named Josh Seitz, who's my old coach. um,
Yes.
and yeah, and so that's one way we're different. We don't work with any one particular shoe company, so all the athletes work with their own shoe company. And yeah, it's just like a lot of these different moving parts where I find myself in a position where I'm still on the team as an athlete, and we have addressed this with the team. Like, it's a little weird. I'm on the team as an athlete. I'm, getting towards the later parts of my career, but I'm still in the team as an athlete and I want to compete. But I also am in a pretty big leadership role where it's my idea, and my dog's gonna bark because there's a trash truck.
Okay.
It's my it's my idea, and I, kind of like willed this thing to life. I think a lot of people are like, okay, cool. Like if you're willing to do the work to make this happen, like I'm willing to participate. But I didn't see anyone else stepping up to be like, yeah, I want to like co-found this with you. I actually, to be honest, really wanted a co-founder, and that was hard for me for a while to be like, I can't do this on my own. Like somebody else has to do this with me, and it just, like the right person has not surfaced yet to do that with me. So a lot of it just ends up being like, well, how bad do you want it, Colleen? Because it's gonna be a lot of work, and if you want it that bad, we're just gonna have to figure it out. And the athletes have been amazing in terms of just like they're like down to support. But I think most of them are more in their first mountain of their career where they're like, I want to focus on my training, and I want to be able to like make this storytelling component fit into that, where I'm more on the other side of it, where I'm like starting to think about what I'm going to do next and starting to think about, you know, the team as a business and as a media company and stuff. And I'm more like fitting my running into that. And so it's just like a different mindset around it. And to answer your, I mean, it's not, I'm not answering your question at all, but how I'm balancing it is like so far not very well. And I'm hoping to get better at that as I go because that's something that's proven to be very tricky. But I think I always did it in a way that was like, I don't know where this is going. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing, but I feel like I have the skills and the mindset to be able to figure it out as I go. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was kind of like, because the press release, the design package, the site, the Instagram, it's, you've worked with a firm Everything is very nicely polished. You clearly have a vision. You've clearly thought about this a lot. I was wondering, I was wondering if you had partners, financing, that sort of thing, because this stuff it's not cheap, right? Like you had to pay a designer to do all this stuff. Like, that's,
Yes, sir. I did. Yes. Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to our design firm, creative agency. It's called EAT, EAT. And they have an office in LA and an office in Paris. And their team has been incredible. They have designers. A lot of their designers are in Brazil. Celeste was one of our main designers in Brazil, and she came up with this incredible idea where we basically take photos. So I've learned how to do this all in Photoshop now. So I've taught
okay.
myself how to use Photoshop and Figma.
Hmm.
But basically they taught us how to like take a photo. It's like any photo of like us running, and then we put these gradient masks on them, like a gradient layer on top of the photo to make the colors look amazing. And then we also add some motion blur to it. And then you can kind of do other things from there to like lessen or increase like the saturation and stuff. And then you can even layer like a cutout of the runner in the regular form like on top of that, and then we add, add words and all kinds of stuff onto it. But this was like a whole, they came up with our entire brand identity. It wasn't just, hey, we're going to give you a logo and a name and a font, like this is a whole, they created us an entire brand identity, and we have brand guidelines that now we can use and implement whenever we're working with creative people who are going to be making content that shows up as Meridia content that we own. And so now we have, we have guidelines to be able to make sure that that all looks and feels very cohesive across Instagram and YouTube and our podcast and TikTok and anywhere else that we show up. We want it to feel like you recognize it as that's Meridia. And that was something, that was a decision that I took very seriously, because I felt like that also could be something that's kind of missing in this space of like something that just feels like a really strong brand identity and something that feels honestly pretty feminine. Like I want it to be open to the team, to be open to athletes of all genders and fans of all genders. But I felt like there was something missing in this space that felt more feminine. And then we also have this idea of an athlete and an artist, and the athlete being more of like the raw, like go, drive, work, and then the artist being more of this like creative side and softer side. And that actually kind of plays into this like masculine and feminine energy idea of like everyone has masculine and feminine energy, and so we want to have this like really great mix of both with our team. So yeah, that was a big process, and something I'm really glad that we invested in.
Yeah, another brand or influential, now quite influential, startup that I think about when I look at Meridia is I think about Bandit, which I believe one of your teammates is sponsored by Bandit.
Yes, now the
Which,
Mormon has, yeah, it's a partnership with Bandit. Yeah.
yeah. I guess sponsorship is sort of a bit of an antiquated term in that regard, especially with a brand like Bandit. Is this
Yeah, I
something
think
where
they
you're
call
thinking,
it a partnership, but it's whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
is this something where you look at a brand like Bandit and what they've been doing as a very disruptive company in the running space, and with a pretty unique approach in the running space, and you think to yourself, this is something that we could do as well? Like, can we expect like capsules, like apparel drops, seasonal stuff, that sort of thing, and maybe partnerships with brands like Bandit?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Right now, I'm working with Lululemon to get some product that we can use for our merch store. So I'm going to be able to like be a wholesaler and get product from them that we can then work with to design for our merch store. And one of the big kind of goals that we have is to be able to do collaborations with different artists, so they can take like, here's our brand guidelines, like here's Meridia, go do something with it, create
Mm,
something with that. And then we would have like a capsule collection with that artist. And when it sold out, it's gone. You know, you were
Mhm.
not doing that's kind of like, a special thing that we would do for like a season or, maybe even a race. Like maybe we do a collection around USA's or we're actually hosting our own virtual race this later this summer on August 9th. We're calling it the Meridia Mile. And leading up to the Meridia Mile every Sunday, we're doing a ton of brand giveaways. So we have just like dozens of brands who we partner with, either myself or the other athletes partner with, or we just are fans of the brand and we ask them, hey, we want to do this event, can you drop us some product that we could give away to our fans as part of this? And so we have a ton of brand giveaways that we're doing for that. And we're going to have like a t-shirt for the Meridia Mile, and we hope to be able to, it'll be a virtual event for the first year. But actually, next year, we're going to partner with Boulderthon. And I hope to be able to, we're partnering this fall with Boulderthon to have the grand prize be that we bring someone, whoever wins, you and your friend get to come do Boulderthon with us. So we
Oh,
even
cool.
hope to be able to grow that and have like an in-person Meridia Mile, and we can do merch around that. So yeah, again, blending that like athlete with artist kind of combination, and how we can. It's kind of fun because like I can get merch from Lululemon and put stuff on that. If Katie and Sky work with Saucony, if they want to get stuff from Saucony and put Meridia on it so that they can promote that, that's great. Same thing with Bandit. If Maddie wants to work out something with Bandit, we have that kind of flexibility. We're a super small startup, right? So we can be really nimble and we get to create the rules. We get to decide what works for us. We're not, this like big company that has to like go through a lot of people. We might work with big companies that have to go through a lot of people, but we can be really nimble in that way. And yeah, I have some fun ideas for like even like different patches and pins and stickers and stuff that we get different artists, hopefully some cool female smaller artists to like design different stuff for us, to be able to collaborate with different artists like that too. So yeah, I'm really excited actually about the merch store.
So you're a Lulu athlete. You've been working with them for a while. When you go to Lululemon and you say to them, I'm starting this, you must have been a bit nervous, right? Because it's a bit of a thing to unpack. And
Yeah.
I know some brands can be pretty territorial and really, as you said, they like to control the narrative. I mean,
Yeah.
won't get into this in too
Interesting.
much detail, but you used to work with Nike, and Nike likes to control the narrative. So
Yeah.
how did it go bringing this to Lulu and say like, this is what I plan to
Yeah.
do. What do you think?
That's actually a really interesting question. No one has asked me that yet. First of all, Lululemon is a Canadian company, so I'm sure you're like me too.
That's right.
They're the nicest people ever, as you know, Canadians. But Lululemon, I actually was not nervous at all to speak to Lululemon about this, just because I have a really good relationship with them, and I trust them and they trust me. But B, I feel pretty confident that I know how they see this space of like professional running and track. And I feel like we're very aligned in a lot of ways on, what we could do or what makes sense in order to like invest money in order to make a difference and like support athletes and move the sport forward. We both agree that a singular brand owning the entire team, paying for everything on that team, spending millions of dollars to support a team, a pro team in track and field, doesn't make financial sense.
No,
You're not gonna make money doing that. And so they're not interested in getting into that game and, footing the bill for the whole thing. And so what's interesting about Meridia is that a lot of these shoe companies can get so much of the benefit of supporting an athlete on the team with, a singular contract, or maybe they have like Saucony has two athletes on our team. So they can support those athletes as individuals, and that's a lot less money than paying for the whole team, but they actually still get a ton of the benefit from all the work that we're doing from like the media
that's
branding
right.
side. And so I think that Lululemon, immediately saw that that they were going to get a lot out of me building this team. And I
Hmm.
think they were happy to say, "Oh, great! Like you're going to do that? Awesome! We'd love to support you."
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought that if I would build a team, that Lululemon would fund the whole team. And I said, actually, they don't want to do that, and I don't want them to do that because if we do that, then Lululemon has to pay for every single athlete to join this team, and that becomes really hard. You know, you're back in the same position. You're having the same exact problems that all the other teams are, and I don't think that making another team that looks like all the other teams solves the problem. And I just thought we have to do something different to take a different approach to it, and I'm not saying it's going to work. I have no clue. Maybe this doesn't work either, but I think we got to the point where we just have to try something different. And we'll probably have to like pivot different things along the way to, solve for problems that we run into. But yeah, I got to the point where we just have to try something else.
You're Colleen Quigley, professional athlete, and now you're also Colleen Quigley, uh, sort of startup entrepreneur business person, right? Looking onto the running landscape, which is something that you know really well. You've got a 10-year pro career. You were a standout college athlete before that, which now we're realizing is also a professional career of sorts. Looking at the
Yeah.
landscape right now in running, and track in particular, it feels like there's a lot of change happening right now. What do you think? What do you think is going well, and what do you think desperately needs to be changed for track in particular to have a future as like a professional sport?
Oof, wow, yeah. I mean, I could go in a lot of different directions with that. I do really appreciate what Grand Slam track is trying to do. I think, it's really brave to like make a big play, spend a lot of
Hmm.
money, take a big swing at it, and you have to respect that for sure. And I think all the athletes who have participated in Grand Slam track, you see it on Instagram. They're just hyping the shit out of that thing. Like they love
Yeah.
it. They are so loyal to it. I mean, they're getting paid, so I
Yeah,
probably
big
would.
time.
I'd be hyping it
Yeah.
too if I was paid that much. I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think I respect that a lot. It's not perfect. Super bummed the way that they handled canceling the last slam
Yeah, it was
was
weird.
super disappointing to me to see. I think it's really hard to preach transparency and talk about how transparent you are while being completely untransparent. That's
Yeah.
very difficult for me to swallow. Um, but I think they're trying something different, which I love, and they're working out the kinks as they go too. They're like, okay, we got to do 2 days instead of three because three's not working. So they
Yeah.
just in the middle of the season, they're like, we're going to 2 days, which I love. I was like, that they needed to do that. Great. And making those decisions like as they go, I'm sure is like tough, but so I think that is a good sign. I also will say that Athlos is growing this year, which I'm really excited to see. And they're, diving into this like league thing too and having teams, which I'm really excited to see. I spoke with them. I spoke with a couple of the people on their team like about gosh, maybe it was like 6 or 9 months ago now. Time goes by so fast. And we had talked about this like idea of teams, and I was like, yeah, but it's tough because like they're gonna have different coaches, and so what does that look like? And but I love that. So now they're like moving forward with this idea of teams. I love that they're trying something new, and also who knows what kind of challenges that they're going to face, but they have backing, they have funding, which is huge, and the willingness to try, which I love. So I think all those things are just like really positive signs for the sport. I think there's also one that's trying to pop up like a dual meet or
Hmm.
yeah, like two athletes, right, like head to head, two athletes racing at a time in like the 100 and the mile.
Yeah.
I think it's called dual something. So I just love to see that people are trying stuff. And, I think that shows a lot of interest in the sport and putting money into it, which is so cool. Um, Maybe one thing I would like to see change or get better is athlete representation. I think the agents, by and large, in track and field, we need like a changing of the guards in a really
Hmm.
big way. Um, I think that would help a lot. Just fresh blood in there, is mixing things up and hopefully more female energy, young female energy in there, more people of color would be great. We just need to mix things up with the agents. That's a big, yeah, issue that I see in our sport. Yeah, I mean, what else? I think it's going to be really interesting to see how things ramp up towards LA 28. Having a home Olympics is a big deal, super big deal. And track and field always, is a big deal at the Olympics. So I think it's going to be doubly big deal in LA 28. And I'm really excited to see how brands who maybe otherwise don't really, play in this space might want to get involved leading up to
Oh
that
yeah.
big event. So hopefully we can prove our worth past the LA 28 Olympics as well. But yeah, I think that could be a really interesting opportunity also for our sport to lean into that story and building up to the home Olympics. And I would love to see more brands. Our Meridia's big thing is we don't want to work with shoe companies, watch companies, sunglasses, or sports nutrition. Those are like four categories that we leave for the athletes to do brand deals with as individuals. So the team really wants to work with non-endemic brands. Think categories like travel, wellness, tech, finance, beauty, anything in those different spaces. We could even do drinks and stuff. But yeah, just like kind of more outside the box sponsors. And I think we could see that more broadly in the sport as well if we kind of continue its trajectory. So yeah, there's some hot takes for you.
Those are great. Last question for you. So we've talked a lot about Colleen Quigley, the entrepreneur, and it sounds like maybe it sounds to me like you've got a 5-year plan for Meridia. It sounds to me like you've sat down and you've thought about the short, middle, long-term goal setting. Where do you want to see all of this? 2028 Olympics and beyond. Where do you want to see this team going in 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, I really want Meridia to be a team where my vision long term is athletes of all genders. So I want to start with this group of women who are training together in Boulder, and we really start like getting some reps under us in terms of like, we're just going to start a YouTube and all this stuff. Like we're building and we're figuring it out, working out the kinks. But I want to be able to grow past that and have it be bigger than just a group of six women who are training together in Boulder. I think it could be a lot bigger than that. It takes time to grow that and to grow the community around it and all that kind of stuff. So I like how you said like 5-year plan. It's kind of like a 4-year plan because I think Olympic athletes always think in like 4-year cycles. That's just kind of like how our brains
Yes,
work.
quadrennials. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, yeah, I kind of think about it that way, but athletes of all genders, this is spitballing, but I'm even open to like, do we have to just be distance runners? Could we be track and field and, sprints and distance? And like, could we kind of, that I think could add a lot more storylines and a lot more interesting stories. So I'm open to like all that kind of stuff. And I also just really want to prove that a team like this doesn't have to be like we can have athletes who have major contracts and are making teams and going to the Olympics and worlds and stuff, and have it still be um, yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of some of our best athletes in the sport, right? Best distance runners in the sport right now are opting to kind of like go off and do their own thing and work with like different coaches that either were their college coach or whatever kind of personal coach. And they're like opting out of the team situations that the brands have built.
Yeah.
And I think that's really an interesting observation because for some reason, like that team thing wasn't working for them. And
Hmm.
I actually think that, and Of course I do, but I actually think that Meridia solves for a lot of those problems that were the reason that we're keeping them from like those athletes from doing a team. And so I want to see if we can grow and do this in a different way and really prove to people that we are going to be doing it differently. That yeah, we can like attract some of these athletes who are really high achieving, but just don't want to fit the mold. They want to create their own mold and they want to be, you know, in charge of their own lives and make their own decisions around sponsors and coaches and, you know, be able to like, hey, I want to like tell my own story, but I also need to really prioritize in training. And I can't be hiring photographers and videographers and editors and doing all the things, but like I do want to like have a brand and tell a story. And so how can I have all of those things? I want to have my cake and eat it too, you know? And yeah, I think that Meridia is the cake. So I'm excited to see like how we can grow over the next few years in that way and support athletes like that. And I also want to be able to support a couple of developmental athletes that we get to choose and we want to say, hey, we want to like take a chance on so and so. We know they weren't an NCAA champion and blah, 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 but we think that they're underdeveloped and we think that they're really, you know, they deserve to take a shot and keep running post collegiately. And so we're going to support a couple of those athletes to come train with us and just, you know, give it a shot. And they're not all gonna get to the world level probably, but I want to be able to like support some of those athletes as well. And I think of it of like kind of like a college team where like you have
Hmm.
freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and seniors, and you have a couple of people who are like on a lot of scholarship money and a couple of people who are not. And all of those different people make up the team in a really beautiful way. They're all very necessary um, to have that like really great mix of, you know, 1500-meter runners and 800-meter runners and 5K and 10K runners and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think, you know, in that 4-year plan, it looks a lot like that too. And I'm just really excited. I'm open-minded and really excited to see where it goes and where it takes us.
Should throw a marathoner in there, and you guys, and the content will be amazing because it'll just be like watching her training and just like repulsed by it. Like, why are you running again? What the hell are you doing?
I know, I think Clayton has done such a great job of showing his behind the scenes and, you know, making it. I think maybe a lot of like 800-meter runners or sprinters will think that marathoners are just like boring and they just like running, you know, running forever or whatever. And he has just done such a great job of showing how it's not boring at all. And so, yeah, he's people like that, people like Ali Ostrander, a great
Mm.
inspiration to me of just like showing the behind the scenes and the story and creating community around it. She's doing track and trail and roads. She's like doing it all. Yeah, there's quite a few examples of people who are doing a great job of the storytelling. So it's cool to see.
So short term, what do we look for next from the Meridia project? What's the next thing immediately for you that we can expect? Is it the YouTube channel? Is it sort of the launch of that? Is it something else?
Yeah, I just hired our YouTube person. Hannah Roshik is gonna do our YouTube channel, which I'm really excited about. It took me a while to find the right creator. It took me a while to find a female creator who could take on a project like this. And I finally convinced Hannah to do it, and she's really on board. And I'm super excited about giving her the reins. Like I can't take on another thing personally, so I'm like, you gotta do it. You gotta own it. So she's gonna do that for us. That'll come out. We're gonna figure out like cadence of that. YouTube is something. It's actually a channel I haven't done before, so I'm really
Mm.
excited about that challenge because it's gonna be a new platform for me personally, and a podcast will be a new platform for me as well. So that'll be fun in the fall. Katie's gonna be my Katie Camarena will be my co-host for that. But yeah, we have gonna have a crew. I'm sure going to USA is this year, which is late. It's July 31st to August 3rd is USA's this year, so a late US champs. We just had one of our athletes, Skylin Webb, took 2 seconds off of her 800-meter PR and broke 2 minutes for the first
Whoa.
time. She ran 1:59.32 a couple weeks ago. Katie has already PR'd this season in the 10K, the 5K, I think she also PR'd in a road 5K and the track 1500. So she's having a great season and is looking to do big things at USA's this year. Maddie Borman is a fellow steeplechaser. She's coming off of a little early season injury, but she's rounding out into shape now. She's going to start racing soon, so that'll be fun. We got a lot of stuff going on with different athletes and with the social media side of things. And then we have this Meridia Mile thing that we're doing virtually on August 9th. We'll also actually have an in-person activation in Boulder for anyone who's in town and wants to run their mile with the team. We're
Cool.
going to have that set up on August 9th. We can pace people to run their fastest mile if they'd like. And then, yeah, every Sunday we're doing brand giveaways. For anyone who signed up for the Meridian Mile, it's $20 to sign up. And we're doing these big brand giveaways every week. We have like $500 gift card from Lululemon, which should be enough to
Oh,
sign up right there. But we're doing like products from Hype Rice, products from Whoop, products from Roka, AG1. Runna is doing subscriptions. Strava is doing subscriptions. Momentous is doing product. Cherry Bundy is doing product. Bose headphones is doing product. I'm sure I've missed some. Saucony is doing super shoes. So lots of brand giveaways, and those are happening every Sunday. You just have to be signed up for the mile to be eligible. And then people can also sign up for coaching through that same link. You can do, if you want to run the mile and you want some like advice on that, and you want to do like a one-on-one coaching call with either the athletes or with my coach, Julie Benson, that's like an add-on you can do on the sign up link. So that's like kind of our first way to create community this summer and invite people. It's literally an invitation to like join us, run with us, and run a mile. I know that your audience is a lot of marathoners, but it's like a mile is fun and fast, and it's a good way to challenge yourself. So that's the
oh,
invitation.
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Colleen Quigley, thank you so much for your time, and we will be keeping an eye out on what Meridia is up to throughout the summer and beyond. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for all the support. We really appreciate it.